Welcome to the fourth episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And today we have a very, very special guest. But before we get to that, with this special guest, we're here to talk about something that we kind of scratched the surface on in the first few episodes. We were discussing collecting habits, and what do we collect? How do we collect it? How do we decide what we collect? And the last most important piece for me, anyway, when it's time to let a piece of our cherished collection go for the right price, of course. So, Dana, how do you know when an item is a must-buy, something you have to get a hold of and get signed for the future? I know you have stuff waiting to be signed in the future. How do you know when you have to just grab something and hold it for a future signing?
Typically, it's all about opportunity. If I have a strong feeling that I have a good deal or a good opportunity coming down the pike, I try to grab everything I can. Like right now, I'm in my office and I'm looking at a stack of Ultimate figures for a certain somebody we're going to be with next week. So for something like that, and then stuff that's a little bit more sentimental, it's just
just to be clear, you've been holding those figures for a year, right?
Oh yeah, and I've been getting more and more and more. I'm like a psychopath. I think I've cleared out all of Long Island gathering my supply right now. But then there's other stuff I collect that's obviously more sentimental. That might tie into like an event I recall fondly as a kid on pay-per-view or whatever. Something like that.
It's funny. I've been holding a WrestleMania 18 poster that I believe I purchased from our guest directly. I think so. I can't remember. I was certainly bidding on one of his anyway. I've been holding it for Hulk Hogan and for close to a year, if not more than a year, and can't wait to get that done in August. So, anything? Are you holding any really like special items now, or anything any unique individual items?
Well, for Hulk Hogan, since you brought him up, the one item that I have is a 16 by 20 NWO, like not the original, but like the original group when it started expanding. And it's already signed now by Hall, Nash, DiBiase, and Big Show. So Hogan will complete it. And even with the Fanatics Fest pricing, I'm going to suck it up and just do that to get that print complete.
Premium pricing.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, I mean, I what do I have a stack of Hogan stuff that for special item wise. Do I have any other special items? Not off the top of my head. I've been saving a ton of really expensive Jushin Liger stuff for years, and then I got it all done last big event. But I'm not really holding anything special now. So I've kind of been eyeing items on eBay and stuff, and thinking about what other things I want to stick in my collection. So, but I've been, as you know, I did promise to take a little break of buying new stuff over the summer. So we'll see how well I hold myself to it. So, in that vein, today we're going to be talking to legendary wrestling collector. If you are a part of the wrestling collecting community online, you know this guy. He's known for having a tremendous collection of original wrestling promo photos from all promotions. He's a tremendous collection of event posters. He runs his auction Andrew auctions pretty frequently, and so Andrew is going to be coming to speak with us right after we do a little housekeeping. So I'll start with the housekeeping and then we'll bring on Andrew. So Marked Out Radio is presented by Marked Out Collectibles. If you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com. You can check out our eBay store at marked-out-collectibles or our sister eBay store at ny-collectibles. And to contact us for any reason, if you want to ask any questions or pitch some ideas for a future show or correct when I make a mistake, you can email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Andrew. Hey, Andrew, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. How are you?
We're doing great. We're very excited to have a big-time collector, someone who, has seen a lot of stuff in the collecting world. So I guess we'll start off by I guess you can give a brief introduction to how you started collecting and what history you have with the Marked Out board, if you have any.
Oh, first of all, for the marked out board, I probably was one of the first. I mean, I used to see you guys and others like post things like about like interactions with, meeting celebrities or meeting, and one of the funny things I remember was, oh, don't post exactly where you are. People would post and you guys would remove it. I thought that was hilarious.
Yep.
But my first experience of actually writing, I actually sat down. It took me hours. I wanted to write something really nice, and it was about Jesse Ventura's book signing. And I heard Jesse gets like, he could be moody at that. I don't know at that time that he won't. Maybe his handler won't let you sign extra things or whatever. But it was not. I was probably the only wrestling fan there. Everybody there was talking about politics and whatever. And when he was taking Q&A from everybody, so when I raised my hand to ask a question, I started asking about Hulk Hogan, and Jesse went from political Jesse to WWE Saturday Night's Main Event Jesse, where he's cutting a heel promo on Hogan, going, he's saying, Hulk Hogan is a thief. Hulk Hogan still owes me money. Hulk Hogan, he went behind my back to Vince and told him about the union, and I was like, oh my goodness. and then, and
And
there are
was
other,
that was one of those infamous the bookend signings?
yes, that was the bookend signing in Ridgewood, New Jersey. That's the one that I went to, and just from that, like you guys would always post the conventions and the guests who's coming. So I always use that as a reference or as a tool whenever I went to these signings. 'Cause a lot of these places didn't put the price, and you guys would go the extra mile and find out the pricing of like all of these things. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then today, I actually went to CollectorCon, which was near me because I live in East Brunswick. It was in Edison, New Jersey, and but just everything was Pokemon. There was very little sports cards, so I
Hmm.
did pick up one item, and that was a besides the little plush animal doll for my daughter. I picked up a one of one of the APA, Farouk and Bradshaw. But to answer the main question as well, how did I get involved with collecting? That began like one before when Tommy Fierro, shout out to Tommy, when he used to have those WrestleMania or those reunion events in Ottawa, New Jersey. I would say probably around 2004. That was like the first weekend where I was actually getting pictures with wrestlers and autographs. And I was 2 years out of college. I just got my driver's license a couple of years before. And I'm driving myself to these shows and I'm getting anxiety just driving 20 miles because I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm out of my comfort zone, but I'm just like, you know what? This is going to be cool. Like, I found out about the signing the very night before, and I think it was at the time you guys didn't have marked up, but you had a different website, or you guys posted. This is what during the MySpace days, you guys started posting it on MySpace and other things like that. So
That
I
was
showed
before
up.
us. Yeah, so
Oh yeah, so I showed up that next morning, and that's actually I met Tommy, and we had a friendship ever since. So and he came back. He's doing 80s con, 90s con, and it's great. And I told him, and he uses it as his keyword. So I told him, I said, you're not just giving people like guests. You're not just selling guests to people. That's what everybody does. You're selling an experience when you do these things. Like, and then he posted that, and I was like, that's really great. Like that means that it left an impression on him. But like he would do these other things, like even at that time, which was ahead of its time. He used to have like the Q&As and things, like everybody did that, but I'm talking about like now he would have like people dress up or in the characters, or he would have like little contests and try to make it kid friendly and more family oriented. So I thought that was cool. And but yeah, I would say around 2004, and then I really started collecting around 2008, 2009. I was like probably one of the first ones to carry posters around in the conventions, and people would I'm banging into walls. I'm trying to hold this poster for dear life. Everybody has a classic in their hand or like a small little item in their hand, and I'm the only one holding up posters. And now it's funny, at the time everybody's laughing, but now everybody has posters at these events.
and we had
So
Yeah.
talked about that. We had talked about how the people with foresight at these early events. These posters back then, yeah, I'm sure you were able to
I
not
heard
really.
that on the early. Yes,
Yeah,
I
they were not that expensive, and they were, people didn't really care. And then all of a sudden, there was a certain critical mass almost that hit the market where the demand suddenly exploded, and there was always the realization that the supply on these things is actually kind of short. So let's talk about, I guess, that idea. We all collect a little bit differently. We all collect different things. Why posters and promos?
The posters, I have a great story to share about that. So when I lived in Jersey City. This was before Jersey City is like becoming mini New York City now in terms of the real estate booming and just everybody moving there. When I
Yeah.
was living there, it was like a modest, it would look like blue collar. I used to walk after walking from school every day home. I used to walk by this video store called Stop and Go Video. I used to live on Magnolia Avenue, and every day I would see the posters. And as a child, you're just when you walk by that window and you see the poster, it looks even bigger than it does to you now. It looks so big looking at Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage's face on the glass. So every few months it would change. It would have a he would dedicate one wall space to wrestling and boxing, and the other would be just the movies. I remember seeing the movie posters like Total Recall and all these other things, and it just shows you my age right now. But I remember I remember seeing like the Royal Rumble poster, Survivor Series poster, and it had all the wrestlers on it, and I was just like, wow, that looks so cool. And I remember asking the video store guy, oh, do you ever? And at the time, I'm only like I would say 8 or 9. I would rent the video from him and bring it back, and I said, look, I rewinded it, like I want to show him that I'm nice, because he hated people that didn't rewind. This really old Italian man, he would kill people if they didn't rewind their tapes. So so I would ask about the posters. He goes, "No, I don't think we do that." He didn't even register. They used to just rip them off the wall and throw them away, and that was
Oh
for
my
all.
God.
That was for all the posters. Then in the early days of eBay, when it was around 2005 or six or something, I remember like these posters would like circulate, and the first one I found was WrestleMania 4. And I said, "Oh man, I gotta get this." I remember at the time, like now that poster on sign is it's like a $400 or $500 poster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I found this poster. I got it for $50, and
Wow.
it was the rolled version, not the folded that has the creases across the middle, up and down. Right. The
Very
only other
important for the
person.
posters. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the only other poster, and this is a shout out. He's another one. I think he's on Marked Out, and he's on. He's a comedian as well, and he moved. You guys know Sean Carlucci?
Of course, we know Carlucci.
All
Yep.
right. Well, shout out to him because I got to give him credit. He had the WrestleMania 5 poster. I had the WrestleMania 4 poster, and we're standing next to each other in the line. I go, "Oh, look!" And he already had his poster signed by pretty much everybody. And when I mean everybody, I mean people that are no longer alive anymore. He had Mr. Fuji on it. He had Ultimate Warrior on it. He had Roddy Piper. He had everybody. I mean, Zeus. I think he had Zeus on it or somebody else. He had some guy. Everybody that was from that event, he pretty much had. And I remember going, man, if you ever sell that poster, let me know. And I was heartbroken. He sold that poster and a WrestleMania 20 poster. It went on eBay, but it was my fault. He left it up there for days. I just didn't see it. I didn't see it at
Ah.
all. But to go back to that, the posters, I remember at that first Legend, that's when they had One Man Gang. They had Jake Roberts, Razor Ramon. They had the Young Stallions. I think this was like 2008. And I remember getting that poster. It was nobody had touched it. And when I left that show, there was 15 signatures. And I said, "Oh, this is going to be pretty easy." But then I spent the next 8 years to get the other 10, 12, or I think now I have like 40 of them on there. But it was really hard to get all those signatures on there. But because some like Terry Taylor was like the last one, and he didn't want to sign it as Red Rooster. But I told him, please, can you write it? I have everybody that signed it as their characters. And he was nice. So he said, all right, all right. Like I told him, I'm not making fun of you. I respect you. I liked you as Terry Taylor in WCW, the York Foundation. If you don't mind signing, and he was nice, but he said, all right, I'll sign it for you. And he even drew the rooster part. Like he drew like a rooster
Oh, that's
like on his
cool.
autograph. I knew that he was doing that before, but when I had met him later, he was already an executive at WWE again, and I think he stopped doing that for a while. So he was only signing he was signing cards that said Red Rooster, those classic ones. He was signing them as Terry Taylor. He was driving people crazy. But he did sign my poster as Red Rooster.
So it sounds like the posters kind of feed into a little bit of that like compulsion completionist thing. I got to get everyone on this poster
Yes.
and a poster is
Yeah.
kind of a good vehicle for that.
Absolutely, and it's even better when you have the pictures that are featured of those people. You're dying to get those people even more. Like, for example, like what I have the Survivor Series poster has all the teams of four, and you're like, I'm missing Warlord, I'm missing that one, I'm missing that. Like, you go crazy looking for these guys, and like, I used the marked out forum, and I'm not no BS here. I was on that forum, like refreshing the page at 1 a.m. Like, is it? And then like when people would write suggestions. Sometimes the promoter would be on the board as well, and they say, anybody have suggestions on the guest? And I remember I needed like Coco Beware, a Warlord, guys that weren't that expensive or that are not in a high demand, like the A-list guys. Not a knock on them that they're not A-list, but they weren't as high demand and they didn't cost much to bring in. And I remember writing in caps, Warlord, you got to bring Warlord, you got to bring Coco Beware. Just it was great, and that's the fun part. I love the hobby very much. So like the selling is great, the buying it, but just the interaction and the it's almost like you're trading baseball cards with people when you
Oh yeah.
interact. And so it makes the hobby fun. Like when you have an original vintage poster or an original WWF WWE press promo photo, like those are things. And like I had a lot of I had so many more. Like I'll tell you the story how I got more posters, how it grew. We were at a promoter's house wife. You guys would know them, but I won't say their name because I don't want to embarrass them. But we were at this promoter's house, like, because I'm friends with them even till now. And I remember their house was like a mess. They had stuff everywhere. Like not stuff like they're dirty, but they just had a lot of autographs and things all over on the floor, like a Derek Jeter signed ball on the floor, things like that. And they're like authenticated. Money all over the floor, pretty much. And my wife goes, I was just there to pick up something, like buy some autographs from them and leave. And she was whispering to me, she's like, we can't leave him like that. Do you mind if I help him like and clean up and organize? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And he like wanted to hire her. He goes, you're really nice. Thank you so much. And she's not a wrestling fan. My wife Liz, she's not a wrestling fan at all. She tolerates it. She knows it. I told her before we got married, and like we've known each other since we were kids, I told her wrestling is my first love. I love you, but wrestling is my first love. And she respects that and she knows that. So to go back to this, so she was like, we can't leave him, this and that. Without expecting that he was going to give anything. So he's like telling her, you know what? Here, take a ball. She's like, no, I don't have no use for this. It's okay. It's all right. So then he goes into like a garbage bag. It looks like a garbage, like it looks like it's garbage. It's literally a garbage bag, and there's a bunch of rolled posters in there. And he said, "Here, I was gonna like sell these, but you know what? You take them." And I'm unrolling them. I see WrestleMania 6. I see Royal Rumble '91. I'm seeing, and some of them in bad shape,
Whoa.
but they're all vintage. And I said, "Holy cow! Like, wow." So like I'm in the middle of I'm in this euphoria where I'm like, look at all these posters, and my wife's biggest concern was, you're not bringing that bag in the car. I don't want this. I don't want that. She's like, she wanted to wipe down all the posters. I said, you can't wipe these down. These are vintage originals. She's, I don't care what they are. I said, they're not coming into this car. So we put them in the trunk, but pretty much when I went home, I didn't realize what posters they were till I got home. I said, wow, this is like, there were literally like 30 posters in there. Some of them were doubles of the same one. And I couldn't believe it. I said, wow, this is insane. And the same happened with, not so much with the promos. I started getting into promos later because of, I call him the Godfather. You guys know Mike Ford. He's one of the most extensive collection of promos. He has every single one. He's even itemized all the P number promos. Like Ryan Reese, Joe Bruin. I mean, Christian in Germany. There's so many collectors. Benjamin Globe, the ones that have been there through the good or the bad, like the promo market. They some of those promos they probably bought for $1, and some of them they would pay 1,000 today. And we've seen a lot of collectors come in, would leave, they're like they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but not these guys. These guys are the real deal when it comes to the promo collecting. So not to pivot from posters, but just drawing the comparisons of posters and promos. They're both very sought after. The way that Hasbro's are because they make us feel good. It's from our childhood. They don't run them anymore. So
It-
the other thing I want to make up say quickly was, do you guys remember when I think WWE in like 96, 97? It's very early time during eBay. They had a sale. They pretty much had like a dumpster fire sale of all their old inventory. They had old posters, stuff that they had on clearance. They were selling things so cheap, and it was like on eBay. This was like going on for a couple of months, and
I had no idea.
Wow, no, I don't.
there were a
Jeez.
lot of people that capitalized on that. I remember I got a couple things. I got maybe a foam finger of Big Boss Man or Hacksaw. They had like old like shirts. Like those people that collect the shirts. Oh my God, they would have had a field day. They had the Razor Ramon Oozing Machismo shirt. They had the old Bob Backlund shirts from the '80s. They had like it was like an oddball selection of mixed match things, like the finger foams, the thermals, the shirts. They didn't have posters or promos, but they had like a lot of toys and stuff that anything that was in the catalog. You remember when they had the mine,
Of course, yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
George
those
Steele
catalogs are
doll
the best.
mine? That George Steele mine now is like 600, 700 if you find one, and even in a decent condition. They were selling them for $40 in 1996 or 97 on eBay.
Jeez.
And I'm
Talk
listening
about
to
an
the earlier.
investment right there.
Sean and Dana, when I was listening to your earlier shows, I was listening to the best time to listen to the podcast when I listen to yours or Conrad's. I drive when I'm driving. I have a 45-minute drive to work, and I'm listening to the whole show, and I get lost in it as I'm driving. I forget that I'm on the road, like I'm driving safely, but my mind is in tunnel vision, listening to you guys. And one of the things that popped into my head, what you guys said, I believe it was on the first episode. And congratulations, by the way, on the show. This was long overdue because believe me, I've seen a lot of people pop up with podcasts, but if there's ever one that should have one, you guys should have had one with all the experiences. You guys could go to episode 2000 because of all the stories and stuff. I could just imagine. But the first episode, you guys said something about when's enough? Like you go to a convention, and I'm just paraphrasing. You go into a convention, you buy, uh, you're going to get an autograph from the Stephen Emile or somebody you mentioned, and you're paying $50. Then you got to pay for the top loader. Then you got to pay for the. Then when you try to sell it later, you can't even get it for half the price because of all the dealers and they're just they're polluting the market pretty much,
Right.
Yeah.
and you're just like you left it for somebody who's a newbie. It can do one or two things. It can either turn you off completely and not want to collect no more, or you're still gonna do it as you want because you like it and it's a hobby. But you're gonna refrain from selling because you know that the money is not there for that. So I didn't have any intention of selling many things. I wasn't really selling heavily until COVID hit. That's when the whole auction, Andrew, and everything. I don't know whenever you want to talk about it, but that's when the selling really took precedent, like around that. And I had so many things because up until then, can you imagine, guys? Probably from 2007, like heavily until 2019, 20, I was buying and hoarding stuff, and I would put it. I had like these two rooms that were behind the garage that nobody was using, and I would just and they were all organized. I had them on shelves, but like, and I would put them away. I would just buy stuff, put it away, buy stuff, put it away. They didn't hang it, they didn't display it. So when COVID hit, I don't know if you want me to get into that now, or if I'm sorry if I'm still
No,
going
no,
on.
dude. No, you're perfect because like
Oh, okay.
what you're
So
saying is really a great point. Like when we started, Sean and I started the conventions, like we said, wrestling conventions like 2007, 2008.
mhm.
And it was like a common thing. Like when you were getting these autographs, as great of a value as the super tickets were, it was always like the understanding if you tried to sell that 8x10 signed by, Billy Graham or Bobby Heenan or, these names now that are like, they would do insane business at a convention. You weren't going to
Absolutely.
get your money back. It was largely worthless. I think we all kind of did it at that point for the love of the hobby and meeting, our heroes of childhood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And when you see, you see, like, I'll give an example of Sylvester Stallone. He was one of my guys that I always wanted to meet. But when I saw the pricing coming out, I think it was like $1,000 for a photo op, and I was like, no, there's just no way. I don't
Oh
see
yeah, when he
myself.
was at
He
when
was
he was
where?
at New
He
York
did New
Comic
York,
Con.
yeah, New York Comic Con. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did
I
it, Dana, right?
I did it. I split it with Lanza. And it was one of those things where like I forget what I think it was like 500 for a photo op, which I mean with pricing nowadays that seems reasonable. But it was like 500 or whatever it was for the photo op. So I said whatever, I'll do it. We'll split it. That's great. When I post it on Facebook, no one will know how much I paid. I won't seem that like psychotic. And lo and behold, somehow TMZ ran like a front page. I still remember the headline. It said, "Super fans pay whatever $500 to pose with their hero." And of course, front and center of like the 3 photo ops they selected, one of them was me. So there I am on the front of TMZ with Sly, and I have friends, I have family, I have acquaintances contacting me. Did you see yourself on TMZ? And it's just like it was like for 3 days after that's all I got were these messages, and it's like, and so much for anonymity of not having people realize how insane I was.
I remember that, and
Yeah.
I remember telling, I forgot who was standing next to me. It could have been my wife. I go, I know this guy, and at the time, I think that was around the time because it was coincidentally I was at your house when I bought the Vince McMahon signed classic and some other things, so it was fresh in my mind. And then the other thing is I saw, God rest his soul, R.I.P. Todd Fulkinson. Remember we called Todd is God.
Yeah,
He
of
Yes,
was
course.
R.I.P. Todd.
right. There was he was on, like, I forgot if it was TMZ or if it was something, but I saw his picture and it was like viral. It was on somebody's post about autographs, and I was like, oh, I know him. I just saw him at the Legends convention or something. This is pretty cool. Like, so it was just great to see that, and but to talk the pricing. Oh my God, it's been today just to get in. It was $40 at Collector Con, and I thought when I went there yesterday in the morning, and I quickly left because of how long the line was. I said, all right, I'll come back Sunday, which was today, because. Um, it maybe it'll die down the lines. No, it was longer than yesterday's. I said, "Oh my
Jeez.
goodness!" But I was lucky enough that a vendor recognized me, and he grabbed me too. He said, "Hey, just come through this door with me." So I went in through with him, and I avoided the long line. And even to pay, I even was had the money in my hand to pay. But he brought me in. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm just getting some cards graded from PSA." And I was just gonna browse and look around. It was mostly 90% like Pokemon, and the dolls for the Pokemon. And this is where the price gouging. I've seen $60 to $100. I'm just getting my daughter like a little plush doll that because I know she wanted a Pikachu or something, and I could not find any of that were like reasonable price except one lady that I did ended up buying, and it was like $15. But they hit you with all of these things, and kudos to them. They got to make money. I get it, but it's like where do you draw the line? As if if you're a seller like me, but also you're a collector, you could have some empathy and you have understanding that the person you're buying, they don't want their autographs messed up. Like basically, okay, I bring a talent in and I'm sweating and I'm just like, guys, hurry up, hurry up. Like I'm not letting you interact with the wrestler or the talent and I'm rushing you, but your money's good enough for me to take. And that's what bothers me. That's what strikes a nerve with me. When I go to places, when I go to autograph signings, there has to be a balance. Like somebody's gonna pay their hard-earned money and wait in the line. It's called a meet and greet for a reason. They want to have that meet and greet experience and to say hello to somebody that they really admire or whatever, and not just get their autograph rushed and not in the colors they want. And when they give it back to you, everything is wiped halfway off the picture. You're upset. And the dealer's like, come on, let's go. And the vendor, hurry up, let's go. Next. It's like that's not the way to endear people to you. And that's the mindset of I'm just here to make money. But when I see like you guys do signings, so you understand. You guys are always asking people what color you want, what this, what that, even for private signings. Like you try to, and that's tough enough. I don't. You guys are better than me because I wouldn't even do that. To say in a private signing, oh, what colors would you guys want, or what picture? What I would just get everything signed and then sell them later. But
It's hard though. It's hard because you know the. I mean, we mentioned this on I think the second episode. Ev- Everything has gone up in price. I mean, it's almost impossible to bring in a talent and make money on it with the way they're charging. So it's like,
Oh yeah, tough.
if I'm bringing someone in, I have to try and I have to charge a certain amount. And I'm like, do I really want to charge that amount for this talent? And it doesn't seem like it's reasonable. And we're kind of off to the races on whose fault it is. And I think there's a lot of blame to go around. But I think to kind of focus us back on. So you basically, it sounds just, I'm kind of hearing what you're saying about posters and promos, that you have that collector bug. You like to complete things. You like to have everything in a set. You like that idea. Do you collect anything other than wrestling posters and promos? Any other collections in there?
Yeah, New York Giants. I'm a big Giants fan. I go to all their games since 2006. I've been a season ticket holder before they moved into the new stadium. So I'm a big
Wow.
Giants fan. I go if I the only time I've driven, like when Eli Manning he went to like by Hofstra University. That was like a long drive from where I'm at. It was like almost a 2 hour drive. I did that and I got the photo op and I got my helmet signed because I have a helmet that's signed by everybody from the 2007 Super Bowl championship team,
Oh, that's
except a
sick.
couple guys missing, but all the key guys they signed it. So I put that in my office. I have New York Giants and San Antonio Spurs when Tim Duncan and Dave Robinson were playing. I was a big Spurs fan, and I still am. I'm still a Spurs fan and a Giants fan. So as far as like collecting, my collection is not as extensive or the way the wrestling is. But if you're anything else that I collect, it's the Giants or a little bit of dabble of San Antonio Spurs, but mostly Giants.
Okay, so
That's
this is
cool.
something that because you're an original poster guy, you're an original promo guy, and because there are some, because I also only collect original. If I do get posters, it's
Mm-hmm.
only originals. Meanwhile, Dana does not care about whether something is original. I mean, he has originals, he has reproductions, he doesn't really care. Different people, kind of different things. I guess for you, what is the difference, either psychologically or in terms of collector, between an original and a reproduction? Why are you like an original guy? And yeah, that's I guess that's the
That's
question.
a great question because it's going to segue into what I was about to say about Dana. So Dana's one of the only few guys that I don't take offense because when he makes a copy of the poster, he's not advertising it as you guys are not saying that this is a original poster. You and the size is like what 12 by 18 or
Yeah, 12
11
by
by
18.
they're small. You're not. I've seen people like make full size poster reproductions at Kinkos or wherever God knows where they went, and post it as if it was an original. And I'm like, come on, guys, don't ruin the hobby. The original is an original. Don't say it if you're gonna say it. Just say it's in the subject or in the description. This is not an original. This is a reproduction. However, it is hand signed, and you're using it to sell to put talent on it and collect the autographs. So that's a brilliant idea. And that's for people that don't have the, not the means, but they don't have the wish of saying, oh, I gotta have that as an original. They don't care about that. You have a lot of buyers, I'm sure, that will buy the mini size poster because they want all of the signatures on it. Like, so
Right.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So,
Plus, in a
so
way, like the way I see it from my own collection, and I mean,
right.
as I think we've covered on one of the other episodes, like I'm not displaying most of the stuff I have, but like when I have a stack of 12 by 18s, I could perhaps like squint my eyes and kind of imagine a future where I'd have 30 of them framed up on a wall. But I mean, with
Mhm.
original full size posters, how many, that same wall, what am I fitting? Maybe 2 if I'm lucky,
Yeah.
like, 3. So, I mean, you can fit and be able to see and display a lot more with the smaller ones. But I agree with you completely. I try to state as many times as I can. This is not an original. This is not WWE issued. This is a reproduction. I try to make that as clear as possible. I would never want someone to think they're getting something, official when they're not.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that some of the celebrities that have bought posters off me. The most notable was Bill Simmons. When you watch his podcast, there's a WrestleMania 8 poster. There's also a WrestleMania 2, the closed circuit, those cardboard looking ones that has the whole card where it's written out, all
Hmm.
the wrestlers that are participating. He bought, because what I remember checking out and I was shipping a thing, the address it says Bill Simmons, and another time it was Ben Simmons. I don't know if that was like a son or a relative or whatever. But when I sending it to that house, I said, "Oh my god!" And then like I see it, I said, "I'm gonna watch this closely," because I was a big at the time. He had Grantland and the sports guy. He was really heavy into it. So I was like, I really want to see if this ends up. And lo and behold, a month later, I see the poster in the background where he put a bunch of, for his display, he put a lot of knickknacks of different things and pictures. And the poster was there. So that was pretty cool. I was happy to contribute to that. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like at the time he paid 150 for the WrestleMania 8, and the WrestleMania 2 was a little bit higher because it was a lot rarer poster. I think it was like 300. But the other one was Conrad Thompson before he was doing the podcast, and he was strictly like collecting. He was a big wrestling fan. He had bought an Andre the Giant poster from me that had Andre in the 70s. This is a very old Andre, one of probably the early Andre posters. Probably worth today $500. He paid 200 for it. It's Andre with two girls on his shoulder on each side. And I ended up finding another poster just like that. And right away, his attorney, who's also my attorney, he did my trademark for Auction Andrew, the gimmick attorney, Mike Dawkins, he bought that poster as well from me. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like,
That's awesome.
there are some of these guys as well, like Matt Cardona or Brian. Some of these guys have reached out like for other things, like Hasbro's, and there's others as well. I can't even think off the top of my head, but it's pretty cool to see guys that are on TV and they're famous and you know who they are, and they're contacting you and they're treating you like a regular guy, and they're giving you their number, and they're like, hey, if you ever find this, let me know. And then you see them at this convention, they're talking to you on a first name basis. You feel like you know them, so it makes you feel good. You're like, oh wow, it's pretty cool. I'm like, I can't believe he remembers me. Like you feel humbled by it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that is always very cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that and you keep mentioning that, oh, this used to be this price, but now it's this price. It sounds like you've noticed that the market has evolved quite a bit on the
Yes.
original posters.
Yes, absolutely. Original posters pre 1990, or I would say pre 1993. That's when all the WWF ones are. I would say back then they were in the 50 to 150 range. Now, the 200 to 800 to 1,000. The one that's the really sought after posters, believe it or not, are the WCW ones because there are much less posters of those circulating than the WWF ones. And
Oh
the
yeah.
ones that are from the WCW ones that are popular are the ones that have like the odd ones, like the Halloween Havoc one, like the one that's really sought after if anybody finds it. And I'm even willing to put that offer out. I'll spend 1,000 if anybody has this poster. It's the Cactus Jack and Vader Halloween Havoc 93. I've seen probably one person have it and he refused to sell it. He has it signed by both. That poster is ultra rare. So Halloween Havoc 92, I think I got it from you, Sean. I think I got that from you.
Yes, that's right. I did. I had bought it a lot from someone.
Yeah.
Don't collect posters. Yeah, that's right.
I got it from you. I picked up. It was that big event in New York. You pulled it out and you had rolled it nicely for me, and I gave you the cash for it. And that day, I had Jake Roberts sign it, and then later Sting signed it, a different one, and I still kept it. So that was
Wow.
cool. A lot of these posters, like especially if you like, but that's the really sought after one. I think that's the grail, is the Great American Bash 1990 that has Ric Flair sporting a nice six-pack abdomen, and it has Sting's face plastered on the poster in red, white, and blue from Baltimore in 1990. I have that poster. I had an extra one, and I sold that poster for 1,200. That was during COVID.
Jeez.
And
Here's not to
sorry.
cut you off,
No, go
but
ahead.
do you know what makes, like you said, that Halloween Havoc 93 it was? That was the that's like the holy grail, it's like ultra rare. What makes like one rarer than, let's say, Halloween Havoc 92? Is there anything that we know publicly why, or it's just for whatever
The
reason
Halloween
it's more
Havoc,
scarce?
some of these are the cassette versions, or they'll say some of these were produced more often. Like a lot of these posters video stores, or if they were at the, like, they had like those press conferences, but the pre-Nitro days, the Nitro Grill, they would have these posters in their offices. So over time, they probably either sold them or whatever. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, that Halloween Havoc 93, Cactus Jack and Vader, nobody could find an original. I saw one, and like I mentioned, he refuses to sell it, and I don't blame him. But and even Vader, even he went so far as to saying, I have some boots, one of his like boots from WCW. He's willing to trade it just so he could find that. And I think if he was still alive, that would have been a great uh, episode for most treasured, the WWE one with for all the Ring One stuff,
Yeah.
because he was actively looking for that himself, and he's featured on it. Him and Mick Foley as Cactus Jack. I think that was the Texas Death Match. That was the spin the wheel, make the deal. That was the match that was chosen. But that
Yeah.
poster is very rare. And there's one that I do have that's super rare. That's the and that's WCW as well. That's the Flair for the Gold, Vader and Flair from Starrcade '93. I have that one. Tim Jamieson has that one. He's also been featured a lot on that Ring Worn. He's done a few episodes, and I don't think anybody else has had that. I've been offered 1,000 for that, and I turned it down.
So how do you did you intend to like amass this large collection and then you
No,
want to like and to sell it off,
no,
or
I never envisioned that. I never went in going, I'm gonna sell these posters one day and this and that. So it just, the only thing I did that with was it was funny. I wanted to do it like with the magazines, and the magazines nobody cares about. I was buying so many magazines for $1 or $2 each when people were selling them like in bulk, and
yeah,
I was
you
buying.
bought a whole stack of magazines from me.
Yeah, I bought that with the intention of, I'll sell it for $5, buy it for $1 or two, sell it for five, make a little bit. It didn't. I missed the ball completely. I would say, believe me, I made mistakes. So you go back and you look at it. When I remember the Hasbro's and KB Toy Stores, remember KB's? Everybody knows. You guys know.
Yeah, yeah.
They were
Oh,
selling
love
them
KB.
three for $10, and I remember being there. I could still remember holding the Dusty Rhodes, which is the Grail for the Hasbro's. They had like all them all over the place for 3 for 10. I could have bought three Dusties for 10. And
Yeah.
if there's anything to buy in bulk, and if you have the foresight, is buying those Hasbro's and LJNs in the package when they were on clearance at Forum Mills and KB Toy Stores, and even Toys R Us at the time. They were on clearance like crazy. But
Yeah, they were gettable for
oh
cheap.
yeah, the posters though. What's fun about the posters is because they didn't sell these in the store. The only thing they sold for posters was during the Attitude Era. They would sell like the catalog looking posters, like the Hardy
Yeah.
Boys, the Stratus. You could get them at the mall at
Yeah, Hot
Spencer's
Topic
or
posters, right? Like that.
right, hot top, right. But these pay-per-view posters, they are so special for so many reasons because that's your childhood on display. That's when I see my WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5 poster, and my wife, to her credit, let me hang it in the bedroom for a long time. I took it down. She had it on my side. She goes, "You could put both of those posters on your side. Put them on that side." So I did. And I would wake up, and the first thing I'm looking at is like the WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5. You see all the signatures, and the good thing when you could remember each interaction. I could remember One Man Gang crying when he signed that poster, and he was like, "Did Ray sign this?" And I didn't realize which Ray he's talking about because I was like, "Ray," and people behind me said, "He's talking about Big Boss Man." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, no, sir. He did not sign it. Unfortunately, I wish he did." He goes, "What about Rockers, Marty and Sean?" I'm like, "Yeah, they signed it. They're right here. They're right here." He took his time to go through all the autographs. He wanted to see who signed them. I thought that was cool. Tugboat as well, or other guys, when they see these posters, the only one that didn't care was Brooklyn Brawler. He was just he's Mr. Personality. He's a bundle of joy, let me tell you. But everybody else, when they saw these posters, Hogan himself during a private, I have the posters laid out. I'll share the photo with you guys. He's holding the Sharpie, and he already signed it. You could see the signature signed already. I thought that was a great shot because it was special to me. He's looking at the poster like he's studying, and he's looking at it. He's not showing anything. He's not marking out. No pun intended. Well, pun intended. A shout out to you guys. He's not marking out, but he's like, you could tell he's looking at this thing and he's like, Bam Bam signed this. He looked at me, he goes, Bam Bam signed this. I go, no. He goes, what signature is that? I go, oh, that's I forgot who signed near it. I think it was Billy Graham. And he goes, oh, okay. But he was curious to see whose signatures, and he's normally Hogan doesn't strike you as a guy that would care, but he was looking hard at the posters, and he's looking at who signed what and everything. But one of my favorite that I bought was directly from Hulk in his beat shop, and it was the WrestleMania 3 poster. And what's special about this poster is that poster, Hogan had just, after he had gotten that divorce from Linda, he had taken out all his belongings from the house. And one of the things that he had, like ring worn knee pads, he had the trunks from SummerSlam '88. I would have paid so much just to see the footage of that if they would have had that A&E show today, all the stuff that Hogan had that he sold. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. But one of the
Wow.
things he had was he had the WrestleMania 3 poster, the one where he's staring at Andre. And he signed it with all the inscriptions of Slam heard around the world, all of that. And I was so happy and giddy to get that thing. My father, like I told my dad, I'm like, I think they want 1,500 for it. He's like, my dad just pulled out his credit card. He said, here, go buy it. I was like, really? He goes, just get it, get it. You're not going to get this chance again. When are you going to find another one like this? So I bought it with my dad's help at the time. At the time, I wasn't making money. I was living with my dad, and he was helping me. So it was like a big thing to me. I was like, wow. And I bought a special frame from it from Hollywood Poster Frames. Shout out to Susan, Hollywood Poster Frames, so she does all this great framework, not just for wrestling, but for movies. I sent Nick Christie, I think, Inc., and I sent a lot of people to her. She does the framing she'll send it to you and you put it together yourself. But basically, what it does is special framing, not to bore anybody, not to sidetrack, but the posters from there, the frames, they don't heat the autographs or make the autographs fade. They're anti-glare, and the back has the acid-free foam cord. And what that does is, in easier terms, is it just stops the poster on the back from turning yellow. For a lot less experienced collectors that are looking, if you just want to go to Michaels or what's the other place called? They do the
Hobby
thing.
Lobby, right? Yeah,
Hobby
Hobby Lobby.
Lobby or whatever, any one of those. They do the framing themselves and it looks fantastic. But if it's glass, you could have some issues depending on what kind of marker or how long it's been sitting in there. If it's pressed against the thing, sometimes the marker or it'll kiss the glass. She does is there's some separation and there's no glare. If I turn on fluorescent lighting in the room, or if the sun is beaming out from your window, you don't have to close the curtains and do all this if you had the cheap frame. If you had the nice frames, like from this lady, from Sue, you could see these frames from the posters from any angle. It looks like perfection. There's no glare. It's fantastic.
So
So
that WrestleMania 3 poster is not for sale.
no, it's not. And the WrestleMania 4 and the 5 neither. I've been asked so many times, including from wrestlers. I've been from guys that have podcast, people that have serious money and their notoriety. And it's hard to say no. I don't want to say no to them, but it's like, I just can't. And I've been asked so many times, hey, would you, even the only time was, there was reps from WWE that came. I don't know if they, I don't care. I don't think they're going to mind. This was back in when Bruno got inducted, whatever the year that Bruno got inducted, when they had it in New York. They were
I don't know.
there 3 weeks before that, back in, what was it, 2013, 14?
Yeah, that was
Whatever.
2013. Yeah.
Okay. I had the old cardboard posters. Some of them I got from Gary Michael Capetta. Some of them my father had from a long time. He used to collect them as well. I used to have the foam boards that said Bruno, it would say San Martino versus Monsoon or San Martino versus Graham, or you know what posters I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
old
right.
card. So they were interested because I posted it on Facebook, and somebody that worked at WWE reached out and said, hey, I thought it was like a spam. I'm like, I paid no attention to it. Then he followed up again. He said, would you sell these posters? I said, yeah, sure, if you want to come. Look, I'm thinking, hey, this guy's not going to come. Nobody's going to come. Then two gentlemen come with their WWE polos and their land, whatever the neck thing that says WWE, like it's going to intimidate or make me. I thought it was cool, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, oh, look, WWE is at my house, like. So they came. There was no cameras. This was before the whole. So they were going through my stuff. They were nice. They said, "Do you mind?" I said, "No, I don't mind at all. Go right ahead." And I even showed them these were. And I said I had set. I knew that they were going to target the stuff for Bruno. So I made sure all the posters or anything involving Bruno, I put it. They were just there for those posters. And if you go to Access, you still see them. When they did the statue for him, they have these posters there at Access, and some of them now they keep them in their warehouse. But they bought like I would say about 8 or 9 of them, and they ended up not even buying it. We ended up doing like a trade because what I wanted to trade was I had original promos of Triple H and Stephanie, and one of Vince, and I put it in the envelope. I said, if you could get these signed, that would be great. I'll be really happy with it. They were like, well, we can't promise. Or I said, look, do the best you can. If you can't do it, then don't worry about it. Then we'll just charge for each poster 500. They didn't want to so they got on the phone with somebody and then they said, he just wants Triple H. He said, does he have the photos? And he said, yes. And then I corrected him. I said, it's promos. And the guy's like, yeah, whatever. I thought that was funny. And I corrected him saying it was promos. I remember it like yesterday. They took they took it with them. To their credit, and this is why I love Triple H. Like later on, I would say 7 months later, like in September, October of that year, I get an envelope, doesn't have a return address. I open it, and there are my promos. They're all signed. Even the Vince is signed.
Wow.
They
That's
signed
awesome.
it was 3 Triple H promos. It was 4 Stephanie promos, and one of Vince. And I was like, wow, these are all signed by them. And they got
That's
them
insane.
authenticated. Yeah. And I was like, this is worth more than me asking for each of those posters. I was like, you could have taken them all. So it was a gamble on, I think that they would sign. I don't think they would have a problem with it. After a few months, I'd given up. I'm like, I don't think they're going to send anything back. And they did. And I still kept the Vince one. I sold some of the Stephanies and some of the Triple H's, but I made sure to keep one of each that were from that batch because I know that that was from me. And I would have been happy with it if they had personalized it, like, but they didn't. They just signed it, which was still cool. I thought that was great. But
So,
that
do you
was
see yourself more of? It sounds like you talk all this fan stuff. Do you see yourself more of a fan, or now more kind of on the business side?
I think both. I'm still a fan. I'm still looking for the ticket stub and the lineup sheet of the first show. I went with my dad to Asbury Park Convention Center. My father used to have a restaurant. It was named after my mom. It was called Alice's Place, and a lot of the wrestlers would show up there. I remember as I was 5 years old, Killer Bees would come in there, Don Morocco, Ricky Steamboat, Volkov and Sheik. There was some great name. Butch Reed. There was people that came there. A lot of wrestlers that came there. My dad would feed them for free. So when they were in town, they used to give my dad like a whole bunch of comp tickets and would tell him, "Yeah, just come to the show. It's right here on the board." We really, literally, from the restaurant to the convention center, we walked about 8 steps, and I see the big giant WWE logo, live wrestling tonight. And I remember being in kindergarten, and I remember my father. This is why it's important for any dads out there. You know, your kids will not remember what they did for school the next day. If you have to take them out to school for one day to do something cool, do it because they're gonna remember it. Because I remember this. I did not have school the next day. It was on a Wednesday. My dad didn't let me go to school. He let me stay up all night. We went to the show. It was the whole family. My brother, my sister, my mother, we went to that show. And I'm still looking for that ticket stub. I still remember Tito Santana knocking Slick off the apron. I have little memories here and there. I remember Bam Bam wrestling Sifa off. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And then there was Duggan and Kempatera and Sheik and Volkov. I remember a little bit. I don't even remember who won that match because it was so grainy. But I'm looking for the lineup sheet, not just to have it as a keepsake, which is cool, but I don't remember the rest of the matches. And when I go on there's like that book, History of the WWE,
Yeah.
by Graham.
Yeah.
I can't even that one doesn't even have the list of the matches from that night. It's
Yeah.
a small
Yeah,
show,
all these I think these B and
right?
C house shows just don't have the
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a small show in Asbury Park in 1987, May 26th. I'm still looking, and I'm offering big money if anybody finds it. and find your Steve. Anybody who finds it, who knows a guy, knows a guy. Just like Saul Goodman. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. I don't care by hook or by crook. I want that. It would mean a lot to me. It was the first show I went with my dad and my family. It was fantastic. So, to bring you back as the fan, I'm still as a fan because my daughter's first wrestling show, she was also 5, and that was the SmackDown in Madison Square Garden where Solo and the New Bloodline put Heyman through the table and Heyman through the line. That was the same show. The week before Money in the Bank, the go home show to Money in the Bank at the Garden. Excellent seats. I make sure to buy the shirt that says I was there for my daughter. She wore that shirt proudly. She was so happy. My wife bowed her hair like Bianca Belair, like she wanted to have her hair like she even had she wouldn't let go of the action figure in her hand. And I started to tear because it brought me back. I'm like, this is what it was all about. You didn't bring signs. You didn't bring, and I didn't have my camera out once other than to take pictures with my daughter or my wife took the pictures. Like I wanted to live in the moment and enjoy the moment.
Yeah. That sounds like you're creating another generation of fan.
Absolutely.
And hopefully another poster collector.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So to tie in with the business part of it, because you had mentioned that back in the day you were buying posters on eBay and you bought posters through maybe WWE auctions, or you were able to get certain posters.
Yes.
But I mean, are you still like sourcing posters and sourcing promos today to sell them, or are you just selling through your stock? And where do you source from?
I sell them from what I have. Like I don't really look to buy anymore because I still have so much inventory, like really tons of inventory. Like my wife wants to kill me. Like, I have a lot of inventory, whether it's posters, promos, a bunch of 8x10s that I had signed from guys that I've booked or I've gotten through private signings, piggybacking off of other promoters who let me get stuff signed when they brought them in and I just paid them. So many autographs that, like, it's ridiculous. I've done mystery packs and where I put in like good stuff in different hot packs, and I still have a ton of them. So to answer the question, no, I'm not looking actively unless it's certain things like the Halloween Havoc poster I mentioned, or specific vintage keepsakes, lineup sheets, ticket stubs, certain things like that, things that move. Hasbro's move, LJN's move. Um, but you see a lot of the new stuff that's happening today, and this is just for my foresight, just seeing what's happening because I've seen it happen before. Anything involving WWE when it comes Series 1, buy it like crazy. Just buy a bunch of it and put it away. Like when AEW came out with the Series 1 of when they first did figures, I bought a bunch of the Series 1s. Like at the time, it was like 15, 20 wholesale. I think now you could probably get 75 to 100. Even Cody's with WWE now, you could still sell those AEW Series 1. But to go back, anything with WWE Series 1, it's even more lucrative. Anything like I remember the classic 2-packs. There's Rock and
Oh
Roll
my God.
Express. Or I remember in Toys R Us, like yesterday, $20. And now they're like 700, 800. You can't even find
it's crazy.
I sold my classics, my whole collection around 2012, 2013. And I got very good, what I thought at the time was very good money relative to what I paid. And now everything is worth like 5 times what I got for it, even now. So yeah, there are certain things that are just incredibly big and incredibly expensive. It's kind of funny that you're still working through inventory. So, all right, do you have anything? I think because we're actually crossing the threshold of an hour here. Do you have anything to plug? Anything how do people reach you if they want to buy posters from you?
They go on Auction Andrew. I'm Auction Andrew on Facebook. There's a group page, or Andrew Kell on my personal account. I accept friend requests from everybody, as long as they're nice. I get a couple people here and there that are just off their, but most of the time, everybody is like really nice. Everybody's cool, and But I'm also working on some other things as well. Like I'll announce it here because I like you guys a lot. I feel like we're not even doing it. This is more like a conversation. This is really
cool.
Yeah,
100%.
Like I'm working on for the last year, I've been working on a book. And this book will be like nothing you've seen. It's not an autobiography, and nothing like that, or interviews. This is a lot of like trivia. I'll leave it like that. Like I've already have like over 3,000 trivia questions. I'm looking to get more. Like I want to go beyond. Like so, I'll leave it at that. That so I'm working on a book for an ultimate trivia book, and the other thing I'm doing now is I have registered the domain and trademark for Pro Wrestling Audible, and that's something I'm looking to do. Like I'm not looking to build a wrestling empire. This is more of just to do family shows at like either my daughter's school or nothing with like blood and guts. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've seen GCW and a lot of other places have great success, but this is geared towards more of the kids. Like I could pivot from doing that, but also the signings and things like not big conventions, just like guests here and there. So I just wanted to bring like my the wrestling, the selling, the whatever I have under one umbrella. So that's why I wanted to register that name and to just hold that on, because I know eventually that I will be doing some shows and some autograph signings and things like that as well. But yeah, Auction Andrew right now for anybody who wants to, and I take questions. I have people that ask me, if you ever come across this, please. And I really take that very seriously. I make a spreadsheet of guys that ask like, "Oh, David so and so is looking for this," and as soon as I find it, I just Control F, and I search to my spreadsheet. I go, because if I never wrote this down, I won't find the guy, and I'll know. Oh, this guy asked for a Coco Beware promo. This one asked for this, and this one asked for. So when I come across things, whether I buy things in a lot or things that were sold to me or consignment or whatever, I'm able to connect these people and say, hey, here you go. So I think that's also important, just to give that service, that extra, what is that? Like when a hotel, like a concierge service kind
There
of
you
thing.
go. Yeah, you're
So yeah,
an original poster and promo concierge. So
Yes,
I guess
those
with
who
that,
care.
yeah. So
yes,
thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Your
thank you, Andrew.
your collecting practices are super interesting. And so we're going to go ahead and let you go. So don't get worried if you hear a disconnect.
no,
Thank
that's
you so
fine.
much for joining us, and I'm
Yes,
sure
thank you,
we'll
man.
and people can check out you run live auctions on Facebook through that account, right?
Yes, that's correct. On
All
Auction
right.
Andrew and on my personal account as well. But guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate both your time. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So what do you think about of having our first guest?
I think it was awesome to hear straight from the mouth of one of the OGs, one of the top like collectors and vendors in the world. A little bit, beneath the surface. I've known Andrew for a lot of years, and I even learned a couple of things that I didn't know about how he started. So I think it was very cool.
It's funny because I heard a lot of my own thoughts and my own. I mean, the timeline is actually very similar. He started a little bit before I did in certain ways, but a lot of the same the reasons why I do it, and a lot of the same things we had joked about previously about the compulsive need to collect every single one or completionism. It's really really good examples of how, and with a little bit of foresight and a little bit of creativity, you end up building this tremendous collection that's extremely desirable.
Oh yeah, and just hearing him like paint the picture of him and Carlucci on the super ticket line with those like full size posters, I can remember holding my stupid, flimsy 8x10s and seeing them with those like big awesome posters. And obviously, I regret my decisions greatly right now.
I was on those lines with suitcases of belts, so I don't know where I fall in that
Probably a
grouping,
little
but
behind them and I'd say a big step above me. So
hey, I mean, I sold most of those belts for good money. I mean,
yeah,
if I had them now, it would be a factor of 10 higher than what I sold them for. But it's everything's different now, and I mean, even as he was talking about some of the numbers, posters that used to be $50 are now hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and that's just we've seen it. The explosion. I wish there was a way to stem the tide a little bit, to make the hobby accessible and affordable. But the truth of it is, when there are people who are in their late 30s and early 40s, and they're the target demographic. We're the ones who have the money to spend. So a lot of it is that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hearing that WWE used to do those dumpster auction thing that they were selling all this obscure stuff, that was a little frustrating. Granted, I was like 10, so I don't really know what I could have done as far as damage, but I would have liked to have known about that. So that was pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, in 96 I was 16, and I absolutely, I had my eBay account. Yeah, 96 is early because I was early on the eBay train. My eBay account is back to 97.
I have one original eBay account that's long gone, that like predates the one I use now. But I think I was like 98 because I like vaguely remember looking for Beanie Babies on there, which I mean, I'm still on the hunt for Humphrey, which at that point was worth Humphrey the camel was worth like $1,200. And I think now I could probably buy like a dinner somewhere for the value of Humphrey. Not a great place either, but luckily I didn't buy it. I wasted money on other Beanie Babies, never Humphrey.
That's hilarious. So yeah, I think we also I think we have another guest lined up pretty soon too, which I'm excited about. I think I think this is a good example. It's funny because I really wanted to ask Andrew about the business side of it, but then he was so excited and so enthusiastic about the fan stuff that I was like, and I think that's a kind of a big part of a lot of the people who are involved in the business side of the autograph business are super fans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to I don't want to speak on other people's finances or peel the curtain back too much, even though that's kind of what we do on a weekly basis. But if anyone is doing this without any sort of fandom involvement, I mean, there's a lot of better ways to make money. Strictly, if that's all you're going for is just profit, you're going to spend a lot more time to make not a hell of a lot of money, if there's no love associated. If you're a fan and you love what you're doing and you can make good profit as well, that's awesome. But if you don't care about it as a fan, I don't think this is the best way to make money.
So I think on that note, we're ready for our plugs.
Yes, speaking of making money.
So if you are shopping for autographs of any kind, we have quite a bit of inventory on there. Check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com, or you can check out our eBay store at marked-out-collectibles, or our sister eBay store at ny-collectibles. To contact us for any reason, to ask questions, to make comments about the show. We'd love your feedback. Please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Also, if you want to interact, you can join the Marked Out Collectibles. What is it called? On Facebook, the group. Yeah, I completely lost the name Facebook. The Marked Out Collectibles Facebook group, or if you want to interact on our old school classic forum, you can go to markedout.com and post. It's plenty of users still active. So we have a couple of signings coming up. We have Melissa Barrera from Scream 5 and 6. All orders and mail-ins are due August 1st.
Yeah, so guys, just a quick note about Melissa Barrera. We have the brand new Ghostface Funkos, and we do not have that many.
Yeah, but I think we just sold a couple last night, right?
Yeah, if you are a horror collector, the original. Now, this is not the original one. This is the re-release, the new version. But the original was like in the vault for years, and it was like $200 unsigned. Now they released a few right now, building up for the Halloween season. And how the Funkos work, and Sean knows more than I do, they go back in the vault eventually. And
after Halloween, these guys disappear for most of the year. So if you want it, and you want Melissa Barrera, I mean, she starred in 2 of the movies. This is the time to get it. So get your orders in before August 1st. The next one, Joe Hendry. This is all you.
Yes, Joe Hendry. Yesterday was a flood. I had so many sales to the point I actually wish I had more spots. Time is very limited. Jerry Sorrentino is doing an amazing job. Good old Jack at Wrestling Universe. They're going to fill that place up. So I only have a very limited amount of spots. So if you are expecting me to post a ton of these after the fact, don't count on that. These are flying, and my spots are not growing as much as I wish they could. So get him now. He will be in WWE. I think it doesn't take a fortune teller to see that. So don't hesitate.
Like I said, I believe he's already signed. I actually
Yeah.
do. So, so it's all orders are due August 11th, but we make no promises that they don't get cut off before that. So if you want Joe Hendry, make the order today. And then finally, a little bit further down the line, we have Paul Heyman. All orders and mail-ins are due November 7th.
Yes,
So
just one note, not to cut you off, just one note about the Paul Heyman. We have these incredible 12 by 18 and 11 by 14, like reproduction prints.
Make
These
sure you
things
say
are-
reproduction.
Yes,
Andrew's listening.
reproduction, yes. We have, they're signed by RVD, Sandman, and Mikey, and all
Sabu,
these
right?
legends. Yeah, Sabu as well. To the point, and I will again peel back the cover. When we were pricing this out, Sean and I, we always want to give the fans a deal, that is, unmatched. And when we were discussing pricing on these prints, I said to Sean, this is too low. We can't, we're selling these too low. And, we're selling them too low. So our insanity is your gain. Take advantage. You can get a print signed by Paul Heyman and several other ECW legends for $100, and that includes JSA on Paul Heyman's signature. I still think we're out of our minds to sell them this low, but
yeah, I mean, see, these are posters with they will get Paul Heyman, but they already have some of them depending on the event. RVD, Sabu, Sandman, Mikey Whipwreck. So these are multiple autographs already on those posters that we've done at our previous signings, and we'll add Paul Heyman. And I think it's $100 for the whole shot, right?
Yeah, $100 for the whole shot. But the JSA is only on Heyman's signature. That will not include the signatures already on.
But if you look at what some of the other folks are charging for just Paul Heyman alone, on a 8x10 or on 11x14, these are incredible bargains. So
Paul is $90 for an autograph at Big Event, which is a fair price, and we're charging $100 with the poster signed by all these other legends. That's just crazy.
Yeah. So if you're an ECW fan, jump on it before they disappear, because we only have a limited number left from those previous signings.
Yes.
So I think that just about does it. I think we had a good show. I'm excited for next week. I think our guest is not. We haven't determined when that. Maybe it'll be next week. Maybe it'll be the week after. We gotta pin down our schedules. But overall, I'm pretty happy. So, for Marked Out Collectibles and markedout.com, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week.